Hello guys, welcome back to Carnivore Team GB session number something. Phil will definitely know, or hopefully know. Today it's just us at the moment on the screen, but we'll be joined by some guests very shortly, I'm sure. Hopefully you're enjoying streaming this successfully in 4K definition, which is very expensive, guys. Very, very expensive indeed. So please leave all your super chats in the comments. We'll be happy to answer any questions there. Otherwise, it's just a subscriber plus member only live Q&A. So anyone that wants to ask any questions, please go ahead and feel free to ask. But we're joined today with Lee and the other guys. Excuse me while I find the right button for the screen. There's a lot of these. And I can also do another one.
Woo!
There we go. How's that? Hi. Looking through the little keyhole. That works. That works. There we go.
Yeah.
Yes. How's everyone getting on them?
Oh, I was late. Just managed to get food in, kind of thing. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm all good. Busy.
Yeah, I'm good. How about you, Stephen?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm worried about my dog tonight because it's me and the dog, and it's been a horrible day. So we haven't been able to walk him or anything. So not very carnivore related. He's a raw meat carnivore dog, by the way, but he likes going out.
You need a treadmill that you can both walk on, like Gregor.
At 1 mile per hour with holding onto the bars.
Yeah. Well, look how good he looks on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, I think things are going pretty good. I'm currently about 2.5 weeks out from my next bodybuilding show. My check-in day with my coach is on Wednesday, which is tomorrow morning. So I'm going to be bare ass naked pretty much in front of the shed in the back garden with hopefully no peeping members of the community watching or neighbours. But yeah, there we go. We have that's what's happening tomorrow. So hopefully he's given me some high days. He gave me some more, basically in bodybuilding you have higher food days or refeed days. Effectively like a mini leptin reset sort of thing. I was given 2 of those over the weekend and they barely touched the sides. So I felt like I obviously enjoyed having a bit extra food, but I'm at the point now my body just craves food. So I'm like food focus all the time. So it's a bit of a pain in the backside, but we're getting there. And I just let Phil know we're actually streaming now, I believe in 4K. We'll at least have a 4K viewing afterwards, so feel free to check that out, guys, if you're watching this. See if it works. Let me know if it goes 4K or not. Otherwise, we're doing our best to polish up the stream and have the best possible outcome for you guys watching. Anyway, if you do have any questions, please leave them in the chat. I'm just going to go through the chat now. Apologies for blocking Lee's face. That's a bit annoying. I don't know how to move that. But Nicole just says yes, absolutely. Hello, Rick. Thank you for joining. Please leave a comment below the video after you've watched it, guys. That helps all of us. Any combination of us definitely helps get the name out there for our team. We've got Newcastle upon Time. We've got Nick. Thank you for joining us, Nick. Nice to see you. I'm not getting my blue blockers on tonight. They're over there, and it means moving around my green screen and my whole studio, which is not pleasant right now. Anyway, we've got also Phil here. Thank you for joining, Phil. Nice to see you. And Mike, thank you for joining. Appreciate you being here, especially on a time like this, which is probably quite difficult for you to attend to. We've got a super chat, much appreciated, $5 roughly. No question, it just hits listen, learn, send good vibes, and a super chat, much appreciated. That's great to see. And if you do have any questions, let us know. We're happy to answer those. So I'm still just going through the chat, just acknowledging everyone. Afternoon from Hopkins. Hopefully that's a good place, hopefully. Gregor is an AI. He does not look like human when he speaks. I think it's a fair statement. What do you guys think?
I think we've set everybody off about Gregor in the chat. Sorry about that, guys.
Hi, Tom.
He is quite hilarious, isn't he? He's amazing comedy value. Has anybody seen the video where they've got him and what's the other guy's name? The black guy, the doc. And he just spliced it all together.
Yeah.
Going,
looks like Dr. Hibbert.
Milton.
Acts like him. Milton, yeah.
Yeah, both of them just going, hilarious, absolutely hilarious.
Jeez, that's mad. All right. He's younger than me. That blows my mind. Yeah, some people blow my mind as well. I've not actually done a critique video of him yet.
He's younger than me by about 10 years, I think.
Yeah. 10
Wow.
years
Jeez.
younger than me, easily. Yeah.
That is mad. Why we do a rip into Gregor session? Even though you're streaming in 4K, the stream can only go to 1080p. I'd say money was not what I spent there. Yeah, it was something like $70 per month, which is absurd. I might be paying less, I don't know. I imagine that this is recorded in 4K. What is pumping out on the screen right now is apparently 4K. So if you guys are watching it, it's only 1080p. It must be just YouTube limiting the output for now, because it is a live stream and obviously it goes really slow. And when you have too many pixels on the screen, the bitrate needs to be raised, and I doubt the guys here on the screen right now have worked that one out. And even if you do increase the bitrate of what you're putting out through the outscaled resolution base canvas of 3840 by 2160, you have to have a powerful enough computer to make sure it doesn't glitch to hell. Mine is slightly glitchy, and mine's quite a good laptop, so it just goes to show it's streaming in 4K is an impossibility right now with our Carnivore Team GB budget, unfortunately. Feel very free, guys, to chime in if you've got anything to say. I'm just going through the chat. If you've got anything
We've got
upcoming.
a budget. I didn't even know we had a budget.
It's not a very large budget. It's certainly not a large budget. It's I worked out over the last year, it's perhaps between us about 130 quid. We've probably got through super chats, if that. Last week I got about £14, which was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. All helps, though, doesn't it? I mean, it's very kind of people.
It all helps. Yeah, it's more the sentiment of it than anything. Even if someone gives me a quid. I mean, I send Bart K, Stephen, I just send them the lowest amount because it says I support what you're doing. I support your Q&A sessions. Enjoy them. It's not a lot of money, but it might spur other people want to do the same thing. And for that £2, maybe you get £1 of it. Maybe, I don't know, £1.20. Yeah. But still, it helps. You know, pays for some salt. Yeah, some good quality sea salt.
Which is where salary comes from, isn't it? The word salary comes from salt. They used to pay, I think the Romans used to pay their people in salt, and that was a salary. Anyway,
interesting.
I think you'll find. Is that interesting? I don't know.
Yeah, that's where it comes from.
I think so.
But salt's bad for you, know? Salt's bad, no?
Well, if you're listening to two doctors.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'm just
send in the clown.
We've got another fellow Kentian. Kentian.
Tree dude.
There we go. Matthew, thanks for joining.
Welcome, Matt. Welcome, Matt. What about that, Phil?
Nice.
It's all part of it. All right.
We've got
next.
Some questions, haven't we? We do actually have some questions here.
I pretend I'm on a meeting call. That's what you need to do. These guys in these offices at home, you know, doing under the stairs sort of work from home business. They're all at it. They're all watching OnlyFans in their lunch break and stuff. All of them. I mean, this isn't OnlyFans. We're much better, of course. We got some chat. Yeah, you're right, Phil. We've got some questions. So, question from Rocket Scientist 66. How important is it to do regular blood tests? I'm searching for a functional doctor in my area who understands ketogenic carnivore diet. Proving very hard. I imagine this is someone from the US, but Stephen, I'm going to put you on solo layout because this is probably right up your street, if that's okay.
Okay. So, that's very kind of you, Jonathan. Yes. How important is it to do regular blood tests? Well, it depends your situation. I mean, if you're feeling fantastic and fit and well, probably not that important. If you are worried because, for instance, your family all have a certain condition that they all seem to be falling foul to, it might be something to look at. But it's not the be all and end all. I think clinical presentation, which is a posh way of saying how you look and feel, is the most important thing. Now, looking for a functional doctor who understands a ketogenic carnivore diet, that is also very difficult, because interpretation of bloods is still back in the dark ages, where they're still using the normative ranges, which don't relate to anything to do with this diet. It relates to 45 to 65% intake of carbohydrates, and it's basically taken from mostly sick people. It's not taken from optimal people. I mean, it's not a good gauge in any way, shape, or form. It's a rough guide. So I'll just give you a couple of examples. One yesterday, I was coaching somebody, and they were with a functional doctor, and they refused to discuss the thyroid because the person had a TSH reading, which was normal, thyroid stimulating hormone, which is a pituitary gland hormone. It's not even a thyroid hormone. And she'd been watching us, and she went out and got a full thyroid panel, and lo and behold, she had very elevated antibodies, not particularly good production of T4, and quite a lot of things in our bloods were showing that full panel was really essential. But the doctor didn't even want to know, even with the bloods. Now, the bottom line was, I said, any symptoms? Oh, yeah, every single symptom you could possibly imagine. Weight gain, cold all the time, brain fog, fatigued, all that. So that is going back to my point. The clinical presentation should have been enough. That person should have been able to go to the doctor and not have a blood test and say, these are the symptoms, what do you reckon? And they would have said, possibly Hashimoto's, possibly. But anyway, so that's the thing. I mean, get the bloods. If you are interested in biohacking, which many people are that watch this, it is fascinating. So within 3 months of going carnivore, when I was 55, I gained testosterone. I increased my testosterone by 51%. That's the full amount. I was showing people those figures a couple of days ago. Didn't do anything other than start eating more meat and taking out the last remaining vegetables. And that pushed my testosterone up by 51%, of 55. So that's amazing. So if you're interested in that, see, that is an interesting stat, then you could do regular blood tests. So if I did every 6 months, here I am nearly 6 years later on carnivore, where is my testosterone? I don't know, because I don't do blood tests. I know how I look and feel. I still play five-a-side football, 3 times a week. So must be doing okay. I don't think it's important. I think how you look and feel is, unless there's some specific reason that you want to do regular blood tests. I think if you're biohacking, fill your boots, do it. I think it's great because it proves a lot of the concepts that I talk about. But if, for instance, type 2 diabetes, let's have a look. You're looking at that. You do need to get the proper panel, which includes fasting insulin, fasting glucose. C-peptide is really good, and reticulocyte count to see how long your red blood cells are lasting, because that's the proper context. The other thing, just to say to that guy and anyone watching, is I do offer consultations to go through bloods and put it in the right context for you. So you can find people, and I'm not the only one. There are people online that would do that. And I think actually everybody in this room would probably be able to look at your bloods and give you a pretty good understanding of it. So anyway, to answer your question, you don't have to, but unless you have a particularly good reason, and to find someone that can interpret them is difficult, but not impossible.
Nice one. You look dazzling there, Stephen.
All right, okay.
The quality was very good. Yeah, I checked on my phone as well. The quality is significantly better than last week.
Yeah, okay.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Next, we've got a question about basically, can you buy pet food, i.e. offal mix, bones, things that are in pet shops usually, and I say ground meat mix, lamb brains, whatever, can you buy it from a pet shop and eat it? My answer is, as long as you freeze it for 2 weeks prior, yes. That's my nutritionist answer. But does anyone have any differing thoughts? Are you more lackadaisical? I mean,
so you would freeze it for parasites or bacteria or what, or both, or how?
Both, and it'd be 2 weeks minimum in the deep freeze. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, most food poisoning comes from reheated rice and packet salads right here. So,
lettuce leaves, yeah,
that kind of thing. I've had that off a salad many years ago in Morocco. An omelette and a salad, and It should have taught me never to eat a salad again, because my God, dysentery was horrendous. But I think that a lot of these issues with, particularly if you're thinking about the brains thing, you know, brain, spinal cord, heads, I could put my tinfoil hat on and go into how they, you know, fabricated the whole BSE thing. And it was absolutely nothing burger. And it's very difficult to get hold of brains and heads and whatever these days, because that myth has perpetuated itself. But you can get them, and I honestly would have no problem eating something out of a pet food shop, a pet shop. I don't do it. In fact, I don't even get stuff for a cat anymore. I just can't be bothered, because it's like a sort of 40-minute drive. So I just eat what we eat pretty much. But I don't think there's a problem. I mean, if the stuff is in date and it's not rotten, it's still meat from an animal, right? What else have they done to it? I don't know. What else do they do to it?
Yeah, I mean, all I'll say is it will have other stuff in it. They'll have less, how should I say, strictness in terms of the stuff that they might let fly into it from the back of a van or in the side of the kitchen, in the cafeteria or food production hut area. That's probably all I'd say. I'll be safe. I'd rather be safe than sorry, really. What about you, Lee? I mean, what's your experience? This might be something you've looked at, maybe.
I've never questioned a pet shop. This is the first time I've ever heard of the concept, really. I suppose you would just love to know where the products come from, how, you know, like you say, was it immediately frozen? Is there anything else added? I don't know. I've had a couple of brains. Close to the beginning, I managed to get sheep brain, but I did cook it. And then I had some pig brain from a pasture for life butchers, and I ate some of it raw and I ate some of it cooked because I was curious. I think it's actually really, really delicious. Very, very tasty grub, that is. Very, very, very tasty. The sheep's brain, I sort of likened the first time I tried it to sort of fishy eggs, and that sounds a bit nasty, but it wasn't too bad. But the pig's brain was really, really nice. It was like, I suppose, like a mildly mature cream cheese. Honestly, it was very, very nice. Yeah.
I've had lamb's brain. Yeah.
It's not too bad.
Quite neutral. Quite neutral.
It is, yeah. And actually, you know, when you eat it raw, it's like eating air with texture. It doesn't taste as much. Like when I eat raw eggs, when I eat raw meat, it's like eating air with different textures. It doesn't really have much of a taste, in my opinion. I can tell the difference between lamb and beef and that kind of thing. And I do prefer to cook my steaks and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go ahead and eat it, I don't think you'll have a problem. But I would suggest cooking it, because I don't know, and I wouldn't want to recommend anything based on this product. I have not looked into it. But if you can get hold of some brain from your butchers, awesome. You know, I love that stuff. I think it's a treat when you get hold of something like that.
Yeah. Next one is from Andy, which is about packed lunch stuff. I'd imagine you're limited to cured meats, smoked salmon, maybe pickled eggs, jerky, biltong.
Tinned
dried sausages, pemmican. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all you need. That's all that most people be eating anyway. That gives you at least 3 or 4 animal foods anyway. So I don't know why someone would have to worry so much about doing that. I mean, I have to eat a lot of food, and I have to eat food that digests well for me. I still manage, if you dump me in a town, I don't know, Telford or something, I didn't have any food or packed lunch with me, I could go to a shop and get something. I don't think anyone in this country, at least, is ever more than maybe 20-30 minutes away from a Tesco or a little corner shop that does packs of meat, and you can add some butter to it or something. Certainly doable. I mean, do you guys have any different takes on it at all other than what I've mentioned already?
Not really. You know, find a good pet shop, maybe. No, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, if you go to Tesco's, I've just showed Lucy what you can actually get that is carnivore at Tesco's, and I came back with some cured meat, some tinned fish, a little bit of cheese, because I haven't had cheese for a while now. I did get not so much for me, but the sort of the non-homogenized pasteurized gold top Jersey milk. Not that, you know, some people like entertaining milk, but what else? I did grab some other bits, but it was all carnivore. Oh yeah, bit of fish, salmon, prawns, you know. And actually, a lot of people I know, there's a lot of people that go to the store and just eat raw, and so they don't require an oven or anything anyway. You know, they just grab their meat and eat it raw. But yeah, my thing would be like, I mean, I eat raw eggs and stuff like that, but yeah, just tinned fish and stuff like that. Make your own pemmican and make a big batch. I suppose that stuff lasts for months, doesn't it? I'm unrefrigerated, so.
Yeah, there we have it. Next question from Saya. What are your thoughts on consuming raw eggs in regards to avidin affecting biotin absorption? I consume a lot of raw eggs, but separated 6 hours from my main meal. Well, the avidin is only bound in the food stuff itself, being the eggs. The reduction of biotin that you might acquire is something of the order of 20 to 25, maybe 30%. If you're eating a lot of raw eggs, you're getting a lot of biotin. And it won't make a difference towards absorption of biotin from other foods that you're eating, which are probably a low impact source anyway. So I wouldn't personally worry about splitting them up. I wouldn't worry about having too many. You're gaining biotin by having raw eggs. You're not losing it, basically. If you guys thought about this at all, I know obviously we talk about like anti-nutrients and stuff in plants and stuff, but some of these things do exist in animal foods. Xenoestrogen, what's it called? Casomorphines, which I've got an excellent video coming out on soon. Another dairy video, which you guys will absolutely love. But yeah, what do you guys think towards this? I mean, this is something I first heard about a few years back, and it was a whole big scare. Like, you know, you've got to cook the white, have the egg yolk raw, don't have it of this, take it away from this part of the meal. You know, what's from your experience?
I think if people can take eggs, it's absolutely fine, raw or cooked or whatever they want. You know, no problem at all. I don't get on with eggs, as people with sort of, you know, who are trying to sort of keep autoimmunity at bay. A lot of people don't, especially the whites. But I don't see any problem with it, whether it's cooked or not. I mean, I think we would have seen a whole load of problems with it in the bodybuilding community when they used to sort of drink 30 raw eggs a day and stuff. And there wasn't any problems. So I don't think so. If you can take them, go for it. If you have problems with them, don't eat them.
Yeah, I think if you want to get all geeky, I mean, avidin is like 0.05% of the protein in an egg. And Jonathan's absolutely right. You're getting more biotin. So your net benefit, you have to think about that, is still great. But I like to get into, well, why is avidin in there if it's that bad? Well, it binds to B7 biotin to stop bacterial growth. I mean, it has a function in the egg. Eggs are brilliantly thought out. You know, they make chickens. You know, it's amazing what's in there. So yeah, you could be a reductionist and say, well, it binds to biotin, therefore it's going to get into my body and do that. Well, it only has a limited affinity. It can't just doesn't soak up loads of biotin. Otherwise, it wouldn't work in the egg. Yeah, so that's the point. I think we can look at nuances all day, but it's probably just a narrative-driven myth, I think, to be honest. And Phil and Jonathan both seem to like Phil recording bodybuilders because they didn't have biotin deficiencies. They didn't. And like, I can't get over how simple it is what Jonathan said. You have more biotin because of eggs. So yeah, maybe you do sacrifice some, but you still end up, the net benefit is you have more. It really is that simple.
Yeah, I've been guilty of even saying it. When I learned that, I thought, oh, it's something that just comes up when you're talking, you're making a video. But yeah, it's really not a significant thing to worry about. And I prefer raw eggs. I don't, for whatever reason, something's happened to me. I don't enjoy cooked eggs. It's kind of like maybe 2 hours into digestion. Basically, the moment it sort of hits your small intestine, my body's not as happy when they're cooked. And it's actually more so the yolk. And so I have been through phases where I've just cooked a load of whites and downed a load of yolks. And I feel roughly the same as when I just eat raw eggs, but I feel better eating raw eggs. And I feel like I haven't eaten anything at all. I no wonder these guys just chug them down, these 30 eggs, because you wouldn't even feel like you've eaten anything. And that sounds crazy. But if I cook 6 eggs, I struggle to eat 6 eggs cooked, where I could drink 20 eggs and go to work and feel like I've not even eaten anything. So
Yeah, for surely. I mean, I'm killing the eggs at the moment, and if you've been listening to my stuff in some detail for a while, you know I've not really had many eggs for quite a long time. There's a point where I was having like 1 or 2 eggs a day, and I was really wanting like 10. But it does seem to cause a flare up if I'm in a bad spot, like immunologically. But yeah, if I eat eggs, I feel better for it. I quite enjoy them. And what I'm doing at the moment myself is cooking up the whites quite well with the yolks on top of it. If it splits and it gets a bit, I don't stress about it. You know, my body, I just want to get food in. I'm eating so much food, I don't have time to worry about faffing around, you know, getting ready for the gym, whatever in the morning, work. What I tend to do though is I tend to deliberately undercook them so I don't get the same experience that Lee has. Then if it's too undercooked and that white is a bit too clear, when I'm like, it's a bit phlegmy, you know, a bit, you know, not that nice. What I'll do is actually pour it into my bone broth, which I actually put chicken bones in here, then I boil it up and heat it and stuff. I'll put it in there, then the egg white will kind of go into there like an egg drop soup kind of thing. Then that doesn't cook it, it doesn't, you know, destroy the nutrients, and I quite like doing that. It's just a little hack I can do whilst I'm actually cooking, preparing my own food. But yeah, that's my take on it, and I think we've covered that topic quite well. We've got a question here from Polish Mike, which might be another good one for Stephen, and we'll try and find some for Phil and Lee to ruminate over. But it's about optimal ranges for blood test results, and if they're changing over the time to see how the average is moving versus time. Wait a second, I'm trying to reword this one. Do any of you have a good source of how the optimal range for blood test results were changing over time to see how? Okay, so if we had a blood test in the 1950s for 10 different markers, we had the 10 different markers now tested. What has been more significant, Stephen? I mean, I know we look at different measures. I know you've taught me a few things about different blood tests and different markers that are more useful than not. What has been your experience, and has that changed over your period of being a phlebotomist, drawing blood, looking at blood test results, things like that?
Unmuting is essential. Well, how it's changed is badly, to be honest, because it's not driven by medical science or clinical experience. It's driven by money. That's the thing. So I'm going very broad. For instance, you know, blood pressure, 120/80 is not a medical reason. There's not a medical reason for that. That is insurance driven to get premiums up. It's not optimal, and it used to be age related. Proper age-related blood pressure readings, because arterial walls stiffen over time. So you need more pressure to pump the blood around. And there's nothing really convincing about lowering blood pressure, giving you lots of benefits. Same with LDL or cholesterol, however you want to word it, total cholesterol or LDL. The levels used to be higher. You know, in 50s and 60s, 350 was recommended. So the optimal ranges have shrunk because you can prescribe more drugs when it's lower. I mean, it really is, sadly, if I'm sounding cynical, it's because I am cynical, because that's what happens. There is no clinical reason. This is how bad it's got. At the Carnivore conference, somebody came up to me and said, when I got to my birthday, I went to see my doctor just to have a checkup, and they said, you must be diabetic. No tests. And I said, well, why is that? Why am I diabetic? They said, because of your age. You're pretty much nailed on to be diabetic. That's how bad it's got. It's age-related box ticking rather than optimal health. So the only thing you can do is really do research, people that are interested in biohacking. So someone like Nick Norwitz, for instance, seems to get a lot of traction. He does a lot of experiments. You could watch my channel because I talk about it. And my presentation, I will be making a video about 5 or 6 of these ranges, because optimal is also about ratios rather than raw numbers. So like I talked about before, the thyroid guy who had subclinical TSH, but everything else was perfect. Well, then he didn't have subclinical TSH. He had a very good functioning body with a brilliant thyroid that didn't need much pushing. So it's a bit of a naff answer to tell you that it's a science that's going backwards, and it's not being driven by science and clinical excellence. It's been driven by pharmaceutical profit, and that's a sad thing to say.
That's a fair answer. I mean, yeah. If I go to my doctor now, it's largely a waste of time unless I want to get the most rudimentary blood test taken, which Stephen's gone over. To get all the things that I need, I'm having to pay outright from my own pocket to, ensure my own health. I'm doing bodybuilding, using different medications to get myself across the line, using all different biohacks, recovery methods, supplements, peptides, healing stuff to my guts, and all these things I've got to tackle. To have a good reading on what I'm doing and whether interventions work or not, I need to get the right testing. So with Harry Sopanos, Stephen, Thomas down here, and Bart K, I asked these guys, what should I be doing? What's the best practice? And I've been very successful with that. And actually, I don't know if I've updated Stephen yet, but I've got my EGFR from 54 up to 80 within 2 months. And I did that using a supplement stack, funnily enough, which is very surprising, but there is strong literature on it. And between all the things I'm taking, it's obviously had some kind of doubling up effect. My kidney health is a lot better. My urination is a lot better. I feel better overall for it. I'm in the best shape of my life right now. And if this was me 2 months ago when I was doing my last show, or 3 months ago, whenever it was, I probably wouldn't be sat here right now. I'd be too messed up. So I'm feeling healthier, which is certainly a good sign.
Do you want to share what the supplements are?
Yeah, so I'll go through them briefly. I'm not giving out dosages because it's so individual. Don't ask. I'm not giving them. When I say don't ask, I mean people that are going to watch this after the fact and say, what doses? Yeah. All right, so I'm taking liposomal glutathione, N-acetylcysteine, Tudca, which is spelt TUDCA, which is a short abbreviation, and the other one is astaxanthin, funnily enough. Also using taurine at about 10 grams per day. I think that's not had the strongest of effect overall, but I think it's got background subtle effect. But the last one was astragalus, but that one you do have to dose very high. It's not one of those herbs you take a capsule of a day. You're taking 6, and some people take up to 30 per day. I'm not taking 30, guys, but that's just the dose that you use. It may have a downstream effect. Its effect is from a polysaccharide found within it, which I believe is called astragaloside, something like that. Might be wrong, but yeah, that's pretty much it, Stephen. So a combination.
Brilliant.
But yeah, I'll share with you off air what that was at some point. We go to the next question. So from Nick, as Jonathan recall, I've had sinus issues with post-nasal drip cough. Still not fully resolved. Has anyone else seen or experienced this on Carnivore? So Nick's a personal friend of mine, and he's had this for a long time, maybe a year, maybe 2 years, 3, 4, 5 years. It's a real pain in his backside because it's always dripping. It drives him nuts. It's like the devil in his shoulder, always poking and prodding him, and he hates it. We've not managed to come to a sensible conclusion of how to fix this with what intervention, but if you guys had any experience with this at all, you got a bottle there, Stephen. So is that a nose thing? What does it do?
It's an ear popper, but it really helps with that particular condition. So you stick it up your nose, you press your other nostril in, you press this button and swallow at the same time, and it puts an airflow up there. And this is clinically proven to improve. I'm not a doctor, by the way. This is just information. You can look this up, ear popper, to resolve things like glue ear. So if you have any sort of mucus, there may be, this isn't a root cause fix, by the way. We're talking about getting rid of the symptom, all right, which is not the answer, but it does give you some relief. That would possibly help. Ear popper. You do get some fake copies, but the American original patent is American, and that is the best kit. I've tried the cheaper ones as well, because I use that to improve my ear, nose and throat problems, to try and improve my deafness, because I felt, and only one doctor ever agreed with me, it was a locum, that there was something behind my eardrum, some sort of fluid. So ear popper, I think that is worth a punt. But then you've got to look at what's if he's being coached by you, Jonathan, then you've probably done all this. So what is mucus producing and trying to get that out, and obviously eggs might be one of those things. So if you've done all that and you've gone really elimination and all that, then maybe you need to just use that sort of pharmaceutical or sort of mechanical device to give you a little bit of a leg up, and then maybe clear the tubes, clear all that. Like the saline release is rinse is a good thing actually, but yeah, Nick, this is a dry thing, and that's what's really good about it. Definitely those sort of, I can't remember what they're called, neti pods or something, you know, where you put a fluid up your nose. Yeah, they're good, but I think the ear popper, which is air basically. Why you swallow, because everything opens as you swallow, could just actually be a game changer. You just have to do it every day, not all the time, obviously, not when you're out for a meal with your wife, because it's not the most interesting thing like doing this. And if you find it difficult to swallow, a little tip that I found is you have a sip of water, and as you do it, you gulp the water down, and it sort of forces those passages open. So not very much to do with carnivore, but to definitely do with ear, nose, and throat. And it was something before I was carnivore, before I was keto and low carb, I used to have. So if you want, does it actually ever go? Yes, it does. It does go. So maybe it was the ear popper. But I think that the diet really pushed me over the edge and got me to where I am now without any of that.
Yeah, the carnivore diet without dairy seems to sort all my sinus issues. However, somebody popped up, Rick, I think, in the comments here saying about mold. So, you know, if your house has any black mold in it, or other certain types of mold that can cause that issue, get that checked out. See if it's better when you're away from home, like if you go camping or sort of staying somewhere else overnight. If it's better then it could well be something to do with mold, I'd say.
I have no clue other than could it potentially be histamine issues? I don't know. You probably tried that already, I imagine, coming off of beef, tried lamb and smoked things like that.
He's done a lot.
When did this happen? When did this come about, Jonathan?
This came about years ago, Lee. So he suffered largely all the time since. It's just now it's at the point where it's just annoying. Like he's just like, this keeps coming back.
Post vaccine or anything like that.
Nah. Nick's a lad. He's a lad. Yeah, nothing like that. We've got a few super chats. I want to make sure we get to them in the remaining time we have left. We got 3 actually, which have been linked to. I'm not sure where they come from, but whoever they do come to, we do appreciate them. And this is from Philip. Thank you very much, Philip, for $4.99. Would all of you be willing to share approximately how much meat you eat a day by weight? I can tell you exactly in a second, roughly. But if Phil, Lee, then Stephen, I track everything because I'm nuts. But yeah, I'll go and find that while you guys give your thoughts.
For me, it's completely different. It depends whether I train. If I do any exercise, then I'll eat more. If recently, when my mind's been taken up with trying to sort out this Spain conference that we've got coming up and loads of things running around my head, I kind of forget to eat. And so it can be once a day and sort of almost less than a steak. I've been really under eating recently, actually. I need to give myself a slap. But, you know, a couple of times a day, pound a day or less, probably not much for me. I'm pretty skinny at the moment, so I don't take in that much. But yeah, it changes hugely depending on whether I train or not. But I can't give you an exact weight. I never track anything.
Thank you for the very polite way you've asked as well. Would you all be willing? That's very nice. Very pleasant way of framing it. I quite like that. So in one sitting, I would have about 500 grams of that's the uncooked weight of the meat, and maybe I eat twice a day. But I'm the complete reverse, I think, of Jonathan. And I understand Jonathan's, you know, he's on it. He's on point, and he's doing a bodybuilding show and all this sort of stuff. I'm not. I'm pretty laid back. So I do go by how hungry I feel. I don't think, wow, today I've got to have 1 kilogram of meat. I never think like that ever. But approximately 2 meals a day, maybe 3. And I would have like 5 eggs. And I would also have like 3 or 4 strips of bacon if I have a breakfast, and that would put me into 3 meals a day. But I tend to do 2 meals a day, so about 500 grams twice.
Nice one.
I would say if I was to average it all out, because I don't track, I listen to my body. If I want it more, sometimes I go out and cook a bit more or eat a little bit extra, whatever. But I would say if we were to average out recently, I would say 850 grams fatty red meat per day. On top of that, some egg yolks, sometimes whole eggs, usually once, sometimes twice. But I don't usually sit down and eat red meat twice. I would say in the morning, if I'm going to eat, I have like some butter and raw egg yolks, just fatty stuff. Go to work and then build up an appetite. I come home, I would sit down and eat 850 grams average. I was eating 1 kilo a day, but I think that's where I was probably being a bit more physically active. I'm not so active right now. But saying that, sometimes I can take, the weekend, I'm not cleaning windows and I'm eating a ton of red meat. You think, like, what's going on there? So it's just whatever my body wants. But I would say average 850 grams, 5'5.5".
That's a good 5'5.5", I must admit. Yeah. Well, like, what do I eat? So my macros right now is a more important thing relative to what I'm doing right now than anything. Protein is 375. Carbs are about 30 or less from dairy, eggs, coffee, a bit of seasoning. I track everything. So when people say, I eat 0 carb, and they're actually adding like 20 grams of seasonings a day, you're not eating 0 carbs. Forget about it. I'm having about 30 a day for carbs, and fats are about 130 grams, which is low, which is not a lot for someone my size. In the off season, I was eating 380 grams of fat per day. In terms of meat, in terms of grams, I'd say 1.6 to 1.7 kilos of just meat, fish alone. Eggs, dairy, all the other stuff. Half a kilo, maybe more. Depends what I'm having that day. Bone broth, things like that. But yeah, I have a mixed animal food diet with largely beef. Next biggest portion would be fish. In terms of like macronutrient value, the next biggest portion would be the eggs or the dairy. Depends what day it is and how my body is at that time. I'm not having a lot of cheese right now. I might have a bit, but it's not a lot just because I'm hyperpalatable. I don't want to be craving food all the time. For me, using that extra 5-10 grams of protein and fat is better off served on meat, in my opinion, for what I'm trying to achieve right now. But I like a mixed animal foods diet. I eat all these different foods and they work really well. But I am meticulous about my tracking at the moment just because I'm trying to win a bodybuilding competition, which Sammy is the best bodybuilder in the world on a carnivore diet right now, if I do win it. So all pressure is on me basically to pass through and just continue carrying on for the next 2.5 weeks. But it's working. The diet works. My diet does not translate to what other people do, and I have to say it's because people incessantly love to try and copy my diet or worry about what I'm doing. What I'm doing doesn't translate to anyone else. And this does give some context to what I'm saying right now. I released a video yesterday, I believe, last night sometime. It's like Carnivore Protein Guide, and it's probably the best video. I say it's about every video I make, but I know because I spent a long time researching it. Probably the best video on protein intake on the carnivore diet. And it goes through 15 to 20 different elements or reasons why your protein intake will change. Chances are, if you watch that video, you'll have at least one of those elements which impact your protein recommendation amount. And that amount could be up to 50% more or less. So if I say to someone, eat, what do people say? 1 gram per pound, usually roughly something like that, most guys say. Well, it could also be significantly more, significantly less, which is why I don't give off-the-cuff blanket statements. In terms of meat portion that my average client is eating male, I'd say somewhere between about 600, maybe 700 grams per day and about maybe 900 grams. But how is Lee eating so much more? Well, Lee is very active. His digestive system is a little bit different to the rest of ours. He might have different genetics to the rest of us. He does some training. He does some physical activity. And walking up ladders does cause some muscular damage to your thighs if you're doing it 1,000 times a day. Stretching up and down, these things do activate muscle fibers. They do tear your body down if you do it enough. So that's why Lee's protein intake is quite high for what someone his size or height, weight is doing right now. But yeah, very good question. I'll stop rambling. We got 2 more super chats to get through, so I'm let you guys crack on with these. So Chris Scott asked,
one quick sec, Jonathan. Just something occurred to me. It'll just take me a second. With the netty thing and washing out the sinuses, if it is anything to do with going back to that one, if it is anything to do with mold, perhaps add a couple of drops of Lugol's iodine, maybe some colloidal silver. That could really help with clearing that out of the sinuses. That was all. Just a quick thought.
Sure, yeah. All right, where are we? Here we go. 66-year-old woman, carnivore for 4 months, glucose below 90. Excellent. Why are my urine ketones showing 16, and can this be dangerous? Stephen, is that an American scale? Because I think our scale's got up to about 5-ish.
Yeah.
Am I missing something?
No, you're not. Looking at the dollar sign for the super chat, I think that's American. Ketones in the urine and looking at your blood glucose is not really the best way, because don't forget that ketones in your urine are a waste product. All right. So if you really, firstly, I'm taking it seriously, Chris. If you are a type 1 diabetic, then it might be a different story, what we're talking about here. And then you're interested in why is that? Well, that's because of insulin, and you've got high levels of energy with glucose and ketones in your blood. But I don't think that is a serious thing here, what we're talking about. You would be better to get a ketone monitor, blood monitor, and then you will get a much better reading, because your body, there's so many different ways of looking at that. If it's below 90 but your ketones are 16, that does suggest you're fat burning and not burning sugar, right? That's what you want. Most people want to be in a little bit of a ketosis, but it isn't exact, and it isn't giving you what you need to know, which is the difference between the glucose and the ketones in your blood. So Richard did a great interview with Thomas Seafried, and they were talking about the GKI, which is the glucose ketones index, which they use meticulously, a bit like Jonathan with his food was just talking about, because they're managing cancer tumors. I am not saying you need to get hung up on that, but what I'm saying is you wouldn't be able to do that with urine strips and blood glucose. It's not precise enough. So it is something that you should consider looking at if you are doing these biohacks. I mean, I'm not against urine strips. Look, I have one here that I show people. These are a good yardstick or pea stick, but the best thing is, when you start getting really serious about this, is to measure the ketones in your blood as well as your glucose in your blood, and then that will give you a better idea. I don't think it's a particularly worrisome thing, but if you were type 1 diabetic, I'd want to talk to you a bit more and have book a consultation, just go through what's going on.
Nice one. Anyone else have any thoughts towards supposedly high ketones at all? No, move on to the next one. Next one from Tijim 101, $5. Best way to slowly transition from a sad diet. You're going to get 2 different opinions, and they're both right. Well, they both could be right, but one of them could also be very wrong. So there's two port of calls we typically have. So I believe Phil's of the mind that we should just strip the plaster off, just go straight from whatever you're doing right now to strict carnivore diet, meat, fat, whatever.
Only if someone's very sick. Only if someone's very sick, and they're a moderator and not an abstainer.
That's a good shout. Yeah, it's definitely important to caveat these things. Lee, from memory, is more of a transition slowly, but he also did the same thing I did, which was transition very quickly, almost overnight, within a week or two. Yeah. So different strokes, different folks. Now, Stephen, what's your thoughts on transitioning? How would you go about doing it?
Sorry, depends on their history and exactly what you just said about personalities. Normally, people give it away. They'll say in a coaching session, I wanted to give up smoking. I did it like that. I just stopped one day. Well, that person won't do a slow transition. So there's a little bit of personality definitely involved. I think if you're looking to mitigate, have the lowest level of sort of possible side effects, I would do a slow transition. I would do that unless your personality is absolutely nailed on, like Phil said, and you need to rip the plaster off quickly, which was a great expression you used, Jonathan. It's that if that's it, personality against mitigating side effects. So if you've got that sort of personality, you're probably going to brave it out. You're probably going to go, oh, I've given up sugar, I don't care, I've got a bit of diarrhea or whatever, so that's how I would look at it.
Yeah, solid answers. Excellent. We've got a carb addiction question. Now, these ones are hard for me to answer, although I do have experience with it. I recently went back on carnivore after a 2-month hiatus, but struggling to curb my sugar addiction. Any tips or tricks? Lee, what do you think towards this one? I'll put the stage open for you if you feel like it.
I mean, this to me is a psychological battle with your own self. It's just you and you. To me, I chose to look at it from the perspective, I want to be in control of my food. I don't want the food to control me. And when you're addicted, obviously, whatever it is, that it's got a hold on you, and I don't like that. I kind of chose to be rebellious and to be stubborn and to owe it to myself to be, consistent. You owe it to yourself. You get one life, you get one body, and that body you want to treat like gold. You want to treat yourself well. And I think if you were to break, just say you broke today, I can guarantee you sitting on the sofa or wherever you are right now, probably been feeling a bit of regret. You might berate yourself. I don't like that. I don't like to find myself in that moment. And so however hard it is, I embrace that. I embrace being in the moment where I'm not eating carbohydrates. I haven't cracked. I'm in control. I'm not going to consume carbohydrates. You might get these intense cravings. Feel free to get up and go to the fridge if there's something in the fridge, but look at it and go, you're evil. I'm not eating you. I'm not entertaining the people that make this garbage. I'm not doing it. I've got my body and my life, and I need to take care of that, and that's how I looked at it. And after a while, you will find that you get less and less calls, less cravings. You won't be thinking about the fridge. You can hear someone rattle some ice cubes in the glass. You're not thinking about the alcohol anymore. All of a sudden that smoke from the cigarette smells absolutely rancid, and you think, oh my God, I'm so happy I'm on the other side. You owe it to yourself. Just stick with it. Just talk to yourself, be strong. That's it, really. I think it's a psychological battle, you versus you, and you want to win. You don't want to sort of let that little negative voice, you're not worth it, or like, oh, it's just one or whatever. It's just not worth it. In my opinion, it's not worth it. I haven't slipped up consciously, or sort of like I've been served some Cedos one time at a restaurant, and I hated that, especially because in a way it was like someone else tainted it. It was even worse. But sometimes it can be worse when you let yourself down. You sort of like, that can be the worst thing in the world, when you've let yourself down, when you haven't done something. Like if I was to drive past one job, window cleaning or whatever, there's only one here, but I'm like, no, that little negative voice, go home, it's easy, go home. And I just drive past the job. When I get home, I'm like, I should have done that bloody job, Now I've got to go back the next day all the way to do one job. And it's like, that's the equivalent to me. And so just stay strong, you'll be fine.
Solid. There's a million ways to skin a cat. This one, I think Lee said it best, really. I can't really add anything to that. Have you guys got any differing thoughts at all about carb addiction, sugar addiction in general?
Just for me, I think quite often something like EFT helps, emotional freedom technique and the tapping thing. We've seen that work very well with people on our groups in that transition phase. For me, that helped, but also just telling myself that it wasn't me that was craving those sugars, that it was those bacteria or that certain microbiome that nobody understands that is in there that was craving that. So once you've starved those guys out, you don't seem to crave it anymore. So, the longer you go on, the easier it is to get rid of these things. That's what I say. But also something I'd do would be like, if I had a craving for this or that, I'd say, right, craving for this is go and bounce on the rebounder for a bit. The craving for that is to translate it into go out and do some grounding. Craving for that is translate it into sitting down on the drums and practicing for 20 minutes. I'd do that kind of thing. Try and try and substitute something else in my head.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I've got my vices, my odd little things, my little quirky things I do each day, and weird routines. I think we've kind of discussed, obviously, the part of it where it's like, okay, we've done it. How do we get around it? What do we need to do? I think part of that is just accepting it. So between, I would say, roughly January, February this year and this current day, I've had maybe 3 days where I've eaten something which is not carnivore, or, you know, not what someone would say, oh, that's an animal-based or carnivore-style diet, basically. So I've had like fried chicken and pizza and chips and stuff. I've done that 3 times in about 9 months. But for me, it's not so much like, oh, I'm addicted, or you know, I can switch it off. I just make sure I have it at the end of the day. So it's like, oh, the next day rolls around, I'm in the next cycle already. I'm in a different mindset because I've had my sleep. I'm bloated. I probably didn't sleep that well. That's enough deterrent for me to say, maybe don't do it again. Whereas if I was loading up throughout the day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, pizza, whatever it was, ice cream, chocolate, that's not going to serve me too well, because I give myself 3 opportunities to mess up rather than 1. So I'd rather someone, if they know they're eyeballing something in the supermarket and you think, oh, you know, you can take 2 approaches. You can take the approach of, oh, you know, I'm going to avoid it. But then when you start thinking about it more and more and more, and it's like, oh, I think, like, maybe if I have a bit, just have it. Just have it, honestly. It's not the most health first, best practice advice. But I do routinely have my guys and girls that I coach have something off plan. So for some of them, it means rather than having a beef burger, maybe they have a beef burger with a slice of cheese with some pickles on it and a bit of real ketchup, you know, not sugar-free stuff or whatever. So they'll, you know, that'll be their thing. They'll enjoy it and they're not going to kill themselves or beat themselves up for it. Well, okay, they've consumed an extra 20 grams of fat and 30 grams of carbs. Great. They're physically active. They're getting leaner. They're achieving their goals. It gives them that headspace, and they've got it out of their system. And that's not turned into a massive binge because they've allocated a time. I'm going to go out with my wife. We're going to have a steak and have a few chips of it or something. You know, that's my personal approach with people. But it's so, like Lee said, if someone's in deleterious health and you're just going to make yourself feel worse for it, what's the point? You got nothing to gain. And I know Stephen always makes this really good talk, which I like to hear about. It's not like cheating. It's not a hack, is it, Stephen? It's not. If you could elaborate on that a little bit, that'd be quite cool.
Well, yeah. When you cheat in sport, you get an advantage. So if you do something like go out and have pizza and Coke, that's not a cheat, is it? It's not an advantage. It's a sabotage meal. You're sabotaging yourself. And I think language is really important because it's how you talk to yourself. You know, if you say, "Oh, I'm going to cheat. Ooh, I've got my cheat day today," doesn't sound that bad, does it? You know, oh, I've been good for 6 days, so yeah, my cheat day. You're going to trigger a lot of cravings or things that, you know, basically why you're having a cheat day, because you've given into those cravings. Now, if you said to yourself, "Okay, I'm out to sabotage myself, going to ruin those 6 days," you know, if you did speak like that, you would do a double take. So we have to get the terminology right. I think that's one of the big things about this way of eating is we don't really sugarcoat it, with no pun intended. You know, you eat when you're hungry, you stop when you're full, and you eat real whole foods, and the other stuff is garbage. That's it. Simple as that. And if you want to ruin your brilliant nutrition, then go and ruin it with your sabotage meal, and then get back on the proper meal or species appropriate diet, proper human diet, whatever you want to call it, the next day. But don't think you're cheating, because you're not getting an advantage. You're giving yourself a disadvantage. So it's the wrong word, definitely.
Solid. Thanks very much. I always like hearing that because you word it so well, and it does resonate with me every time I hear it. I don't get bored of that one. But yeah, what we can do there, guys, is wrap it up right now because we do have to go immediately. Thank you very much for joining. You can find me at Carnivore Muscle, and also my website is compositionconsultant.com. You can find Phil at philescott.substack.com, Lee Coppers at Kent Carnivore, that's the YouTube channel, and the UKCarnivore.com, which is Coach Stephen Thomas. You can also find him on his YouTube channel. Now I'm going to wrap that up there, guys. Say bye now, and I'm going to press a button,
bye for now,
which we all love.
Yeah. Bye.
Introducing Beef Up Carnivore Bodybuilding Bible.
the ultimate guide for men and women to lose fat and build muscle. And the best part, it's only $12. Don't miss out on the most detailed resource available.